to be back here at this jewel of a temple on the seashore with Panchatattva. And Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Sri Shikonitai, Giriraj Maharaj. Today we're all here to witness and give blessings to Chaitanya, who is accepting vows, taking vows today for what we call Harinam. There's a way in which, until we make a vow in this world, nothing really changes, because we can think about doing things, but then we actually decide that we're going to do them and speak it out loud. We say the words that I'm going to follow this process, whatever it may be in any discipline. Then we get energy that we didn't expect to get because of our commitment. And it stands on the other side of the commitment and not in front. So we're here to hear Chaitanya make his vows today, and you'll hear what he says. And he'll also receive a name of a servitor of Krishna, which will end in Dāsa, where Dāsa means servant of God. And as we start the ceremony, I first offer my respects to my spiritual master and the founder Acharya of our organization, which is called ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And there's a mantra for which to honor my guru and the founder Acharya, and we'll say that now. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschatya Deshatarne. And this means that I offer my respects to my spiritual master, whose name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And he comes from a long line of teachers of Krishna consciousness that go back to the beginning of the universe. Thank you. And he also distinguished himself amongst a myriad teachers who have come to teach about the process of devotional service to Krishna by single-handedly expanding the teachings beyond the continent of India, subcontinent of India, all over the world, to every other continent. And he had gone through a similar process of accepting initiation from his spiritual master, whose name was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is a luminary in the line of teachers, and he had spread Krishna consciousness, this aspect of Krishna consciousness called Gaudiya Vaishnavism, especially following the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many of you were probably here yesterday. Of course, that's a supposition. But there's a way in which his teachings, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, follow Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad-gītā. Only when Krishna came, he gave some very clear teachings, but after he left, very few people were able to practically follow his teachings. Therefore, he came again in another form as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. That was recent, about 550 years ago. And he made practical the teachings of Krishna by showing how one could come from any part of the world or any culture and from any position that one might be in presently and make spiritual advancement. And he also inspired many high-minded and very advanced people in the world to take up the teaching so that other people could follow it. He inspired those who were expert at philosophy and writing to write books. And he also initiated, wherever he went, people who had an inkling that they wanted something more out of their life. And when they came in contact with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for instance, when he was leaving Vrindavan, he met a group of soldiers. And just by talking to them for a while, although they were already spiritually inclined, they felt that his teachings were so clear. And just being in his presence, he is described as being, having a beautiful golden form and being very attractive and very sweet. And he spoke to them in ways that their hearts were inspired. And he offered them an initiation right there on a hill. And this is one of the ways the Krishna consciousness movement becomes embedded in the world, is that those who want a spiritual practice find a devotee in the world who's practicing it, and then they start practicing it. And there's a time in which one can then make formal vows and say, I'm going to follow this very strictly. There's a few items that one can give up in this world to avoid distraction. And then there's a main activity that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended, which is chanting Hare Krishna, that one can take up, that is perfect in and of itself. And if one just amends one's lifestyle a little bit, and then practices the chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, which we were doing when you all first came in. It's a transcendental vibration, and Man means mind, Tra means to deliver. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, there's a way it cleans the heart of any desires that are counterproductive in one's life. And one can then take this up as a serious practice in one's life. It doesn't mean you have to give up your job. You don't have to change your hairstyle. Everything can remain the same, except if you add a few elements and also avoid a few very obvious pitfalls in life that, well, they tend to degrade us. So today, Chaitanya, who grew up with Vedavit and Radheshwari in a household where they were already practicing Krishna consciousness. I know, I was there, I saw it when you were just a baby. And they were practicing the tenets that Chaitanya is going to vow today. He, Chaitanya, was around the vibration, heard from his parents, came and spent time in assemblies where people were hearing about Krishna consciousness. And we've watched him grow up over the years. He's become a scholar. He knows the Bhagavad-gītā and other scriptures well. He's been dedicated to chanting also, which is one of the mainstays of the practice of Krishna consciousness, called japa. We don't often get time to examine ourselves, as we're perhaps so externally focused and looking how to solve problems. And there's one problem after another to solve, oftentimes. Is it the same down here, Southern California? I find that in Northern California. Or for wherever I go, for that matter, when life looks like easy street, I know there's danger at my door somewhere. So there's always something that comes that has to be solved. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that start with the root cause of all trouble. Try to see categorically how to solve problems. And when one takes time each day to examine oneself, and one of the ways to do that is this practice called japa. It means to sit or pace or walk, but the main point is to concentrate the mind on chanting God's names. And when we repeat them and listen to the sound vibration, they have a quality that will start to sound to us different from any other sound that we've ever heard. It becomes intriguing at first, and then we'll notice that there are beneficial effects from taking time to do that. And we may also observe ourselves in our own reluctance, or our mind's reluctance to sit in one place, or to even take 2 minutes for oneself to improve spiritually. We might sit down and start to chant, and after 30 seconds think about the several emails that we forgot to send. Have you ever had something like that happen? One person? Okay, I'll add my hand to that. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, Kṛṣṇa has a student named Arjuna who asks him various questions. One of the ones that I've always appreciated was, how do you tell if somebody is spiritually advanced? And he asked, how does such a person sit? How does he walk? And also, how does the person speak? And all of these are indicative of what's inside ourselves, how we speak, how we think about the world, where we walk, and where are we going, using our legs. Sometimes we say we vote with our feet. And Kṛṣṇa said to Arjuna, when he first answered, that when one is able to notice that the mind is a factory that's producing ideas for enjoyment, happiness in the world, or avoiding unhappiness, more likely, and is able to observe that I'm separate from the mind's going on, creating these things, and I'm not obligated to chase after them. And then he said that one who can find satisfaction within him or herself, that's a sign that you're making spiritual advancement. It's something to be experienced directly. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that anybody living anywhere in the world, this is not a sectarian process, it's not cultural, but it's an eternal spiritual process. By taking time to chant and listen to the names of the Supreme God, Krishna, noticing their quality, perhaps praying while we're chanting, for instance, the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, means something like, oh my Lord, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. There's an important aspect of that our nature is to be happy. And we're happy when we're properly aligned, because what we are is naturally happy. And properly aligned means to have service, especially to God. And one of the great secrets of the practice of devotional service is you can begin this service by chanting. In fact, there's an ancient wisdom literature that says all yoga begins with the tongue. And that's when you use your tongue to repeat the names of God, even though it's impossible for us to see God with our senses, because of taking the time to chant the names of God and listen to the vibration and feel our own inclination towards serving Him as we chant, then God will reveal Himself to you. And therefore, this initiation, the beginning of spiritual life officially, is when one takes a vow. One's studied this science and can understand there are categorical differences between different kinds of energy. Like there's what Krishna calls in the Bhagavad-gītā the material energy. And he names earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And he says these 8 are material energies, gross and subtle. And then he says besides these, there's a categorically different energy. And guess what that is? Any guesses? That's not a guess. You already heard me say that. Yeah, it's you. It's you who animate the body. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says that you're part of the Supreme in that you're conscious. Consciousness is different from the material elements. They're not conscious, but we are. And we can become conscious of our body, become conscious of our mind, and we can observe them and we can notice that we're not our bodies and minds. But beyond that is that Krishna describes in the Bhagavad-gītā how he's in our hearts. And he's supplying us with intelligence. And he's directing us wherever we desire to go in this world. So when one knows the difference between the material energy and the spiritual energy and sees that I'm a resident in a material body, what Krishna calls in the Bhagavad-gītā a field of activity, and I'm the knower of the field of activity, Krishna says that's knowledge. And if you know that, then you get 1600 on your spiritual SAT. And that's pretty good. 1600 is the highest you can get. So this is a age-old practice. It's been going on since the beginning of time. And there's a prayer that we say at the initiation ceremony that actually took place at the beginning of the universe. There's actually a picture of it which was taken with an iPhone that was apparently before iPhone 1. I know because I saw it on the book called Brahma Samhita. And it's a picture of the first created being in the universe named Brahma, and he's holding a book in his hand. And he recited, he composed prayers and said them aloud. And he talks about the difference between the material and the spiritual world. It opened up, the spiritual world opened up for him, and he could see that everything comes from the original divine person who's eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and who's all loving. The name of that person is Kṛṣṇa. He starts in his prayer with Ishvara Parama Kṛṣṇa Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karam. The person that's the cause of everything that you can trace back. If you go to your father and your father's father and you keep going back far enough, you'll come to the father of everyone, Kṛṣṇa. So when one, like Chaitanya is today, decides to take this practice of Krishna consciousness as given to us through Krishna and the Bhagavad-gītā, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his most recent representative, when one wants to take that seriously, there's a great opportunity to take a vow. And one might approach somebody who's already practicing, as I mentioned, and ask them, would you please usher me into this practice and guide me? And that person is mentioned, or that type of person is mentioned in Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad-gītā, someone who already has experience, who's also taken the vows and has followed them, then can inspire the person, and that person can be a guide. And this is also an age-old system to select a teacher to give you the mantra and inspire you and say, please carry on. So Chaitanya is doing this at a young age. He is determined to do this because he's experienced it himself throughout his life. And he's also become part of a group, a growing group of young people who have come together for practicing Krishna consciousness very seriously by chanting together in groups, chanting japa early in the morning oftentimes, and sometimes late at night if he didn't finish his number of rounds, and is inspired by the ever-growing group of young people who are taking this up, realizing that they have an opportunity to bypass a lot of activities that are not so helpful in life. that may detract from one's advancement spiritually. So it's laudable. So we're going to ask Nijadam to say a few words about Chaitanya. We asked his parents, but they felt a little reticent to speak, or maybe it was Chaitanya. But Nijadam, Prabhu, would you like to say a few words? You're going to need a microphone, so either you can borrow mine.
No, that's just for the recording. So.
Why don't you come up here? No. Bring it up here. Take this mic and pin this on here, because this is important for the outside audience, and this is for the inside audience.
Just take it another one. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Guru Ma. Hare Krishna, everyone. It's my honor actually to speak about Chaitanya. Somebody who I have seen him growing. I first actually saw him when he was only 8 years old, like this, in 2013. And he's one of the first persons that I actually met. And one thing that struck me when I actually saw him is that always full of smile. You can see he's smiling even now. The best thing that I found him is he's a person, full of smile, very jolly person, very easy to go. And I saw him actually growing up. And as he was growing up also, I saw how he used to help his father when he was little and distributing books. So that's what Prabhu and Mataji does actually in terms of service. And as he continued to grow up, and since he was my son's age, I could see him, that there was things that were changing actually in him. And in the last 3 years, actually, I saw a big transformation actually that happened in him. And I was so happy to see that happening in him, that he decided by himself that he's going to actually go to the next level, where he not only started chanting 16 rounds, his interest actually in reading Shastras, in joining the youth group at ISV, he was regular there. And then I started seeing him actually going for yatra, and it's my I think impression that those yatras actually really made him to take this practice very seriously. And it was joyful actually to see him doing that. And not only he was serving in yatra, he started serving in the temple actually during the kirtans, and also in the home programs. Wherever there is a home program, I see Chaitanya actually serving by playing Mridanga. And now he has started actually seriously helping in book distribution by actually giving a helping hand to his father in terms of going to BBT to bring the books, and also actually going out and delivering books, and also mailing the books actually through the post office. And he has seriously taken this practice. Actually, it's inspiring for me to see him actually grow so fast. I can't be actually more happy to see him actually progress so fast. And it's my honor also to see him actually taking initiation and becoming my god brother in one way. But I see him actually as my teacher actually, the way he is, serving my Guru Maharaj. So yeah, congratulations Chaitanya. So happy actually to see him taking this step.
And now we'll do a ritual of purification. If you'll take your achman and just repeat after me. Om. Just repeat after me. Om. Everyone can repeat. Om. Apavitra. Pavitrova. Sarvavastam. Katopiva. Yasmare. Pundarikaksham. Sabaya. Adhyantara. Shuchihi, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. And now perform Achman. he's putting water and say, Om Keshavaya Namaha. Then sip. Om Keshavaya, put it in your hand, right hand. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Now sip. Now. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. And now, this mantra that we chanted, the first one means that when you remember Krishna, then you become purified inwardly and outwardly. Despite whatever your external circumstances are, if you can just remember Krishna, then you're going to be all right. And Krishna recommends that in the Bhagavad-gītā. So we'll chant a prayer now called the Brahma Samhita that I mentioned earlier. But we're going to do not all of it, as it's lengthy, but we'll do a few verses just to bring the beautiful vibration to the room. And there's a refrain which goes, Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. If you don't know the rest of it, we've passed out the PDF, or we have a way to pass it out if you want to connect with Kota Karnava. He's our technical expert. If you want to get it on your phone, you can just take the QR code off his phone and do that. And if you can't do that, and you just want to sing along, you can do the last line. And if you don't want to do that, or you can't, then just listen. It's a beautiful prayer. Would everyone like to try one of those methods? Okay, 5 people replied, so everybody else cover your ears. Really? All right. And now somebody has neck beads for Chaitanya. If you're new to Krishna consciousness, you generally wear 1 strand. If you're aspiring for initiation, you wear 2. And if you wear 3, it means you're initiated. So he's getting 3 strands. These are beads made from tulsi, a plant, who is actually a great servitor of Krishna in the spiritual world, helps to organize all of his pastimes. And if you wear this, anywhere you go, out of the crowd, somebody will say, Hari Bol. And then you'll remember, oh, right, I'm a Hare Krishna. And wearing these beads also is a reminder of our vows, dedication to the practice of Krishna consciousness. It means 3 strands that you have a spiritual master that you've given vows to, taking direction from Krishna through various representatives. It's very distinguished marking. Does it fit okay? Just no prasadam later. And now we'd like you, if you're willing and ready, to make your vows. So first come up and offer your obeisances to Prabhupada, and then to your spiritual master, and then we'll give you the microphone and you can speak your vows. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No half full. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Please tell us the vows you've come here to make today. Keep that really close.
Today I would like to make the following vows. First, to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the rest of my life every day. And also to observe with 4 regular principles in navigating, including butcher acts. and no intoxication, no success, no gambling.
Very good. Thank you. Following the eternal principle of parampara, taking Srila Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's order to expand the Sankirtan movement as my life and soul, and depending on their mercy, the mercy of the previous acharyas, and all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are like desire trees, I'm exceedingly pleased to accept you as my disciple, and therefore a grand disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and a member of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. May all the previous acharyas and the ocean of mercy, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, shower you with their grace. I very happily give you the name Chaitanya Nitai Nam Das. Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Nitai Nam Das ki. Two more times. I want to hear the name. So everyone gets 3 misses going forward, like when you address him and you forget what his full initiated name is. But after that, you have to sell a set of Bhagavatams. And now that he's given his vows, how do you all feel? Better, right? About the world and the way things are going. So now we're going to solemnize these vows by holding this fire ceremony where we'll invite it's actually, more in modern terms, it's kind of an internet connection to God through a network that goes up from here, and I'm not actually kidding, it's geometry comes from India, because there's a science to building these fire pits in which you're able to make this connection to the higher planets. It gets passed on to the Supreme, and your intentions are demonstrated by your gesture of offering the grains into the fire and by uttering the mantras. And this is one of the dramatic performances here in the Hare Krishna movement. We'll build a fire anywhere and do these kinds of ceremonies. So I need a couple of volunteers who, during the ceremony, would read out loud the Bhagavatam. 1. Anybody else? 2, 3. 1 more. 4. And just read it out loud yourself so we have the vibration of the Bhagavatam going. If you continue with a little kirtan as we're preparing for the ceremony. And then everyone will get to participate, because I'll say a few mantras and then you can repeat after me. So please start the kirtan and the Bhagavatam, and I'm going to put on a chatter. I'll be right back.